Boom shakalaka, what is going on everybody? Randall here from Crypto Love. Today's episode is a little bit different from a typical episode that I might do. It's not a completely cryptocurrency oriented episode. This is actually a special request, okay? This type of episode has been requested because I've been living on the road for the past 7 months. And a few people have said, you know, why don't you document what it's like to be a digital nomad, what it's like to be able to work from wherever, to live from wherever. So I figured I'd put together this video for you today, not only talk to you a little bit about the digital nomad lifestyle, but also talk to you about how you too can become a digital nomad, because there was a time before I worked remotely. There was a time where I had to be somewhere 60 hours a week, and I was pretty damn miserable. And so now I can live wherever I want. I live in my 2 favorite places in the world. I can do whatever I want. I can wake up whenever I want. And it's pretty awesome. So I want to share that stuff with you. Now, part of the reason I'm able to do that is because of my sponsorship from Monarch Wallet. Okay, so they're an awesome cryptocurrency wallet. Holds Bitcoin and over 3,000 other cryptocurrencies. You can earn up to 10% interest on your cryptos while holding them in there safely and securely. So because of that, check out this pre-roll. All right, so in this episode, like I said, we're going to talk about lifestyle. We're going to talk about how to become a digital nomad, okay? Now, I put it down to 4 steps: define your dream, eliminate the unnecessary, create remote income, and go nomadic. But first, let's take a look at lifestyle, the digital nomad lifestyle. Everybody wants to be a digital nomad. When I talk to people and they ask, what do I do? Because that's like the first question. The second question, they say, what's your name? And then they say, what do you do? And then they forget your name, and then they judge you based on what you do. So I generally tell them I'm like a trash man or something like that. But once I share with them what I actually do, they're like, oh my gosh, you're living the dream. And yeah, I'm very, very lucky, very, very blessed. It's a pretty awesome way to live. It's also somewhat difficult, but I wouldn't change it for anything else in the world. I've been wanting to do this for like 9 or 10 years, and I'm finally able to do it, and I'm living in the places that I love, and it's awesome. So I think it's something that is available to everyone, and actually as time progresses will become more and more available to people. So the digital nomad lifestyle. What is my life like on a day-to-day? Well, first things first, I wake up in the morning. Now, I don't set an alarm clock anymore. I just wake up whenever I feel like it, but usually sometime around 8 o'clock in the morning I end up waking up, and first thing I do, I have my morning routine. So I meditate, and it's pretty extensive. I meditate, I do Wim Hof, cold showers, I eat well, do a whole bunch of different stuff in the morning. Usually takes a few hours for all that stuff. So most people, they wake up and they're like out the door to work. I don't do that stuff because I set up my morning, because if I set up my morning, I know the rest of my day will be pretty awesome. So the most important part to me is my morning routine. So that I make sure I do every day, even when I don't feel like doing it, which is a lot of the times, because oftentimes afterwards I feel a lot better. So first thing, few hours, meditate, all that fun stuff, my morning routine. Then I get down to business and I do some work. Now you guys see my daily YouTube videos, and the videos are like 5 minutes to 15 minutes long, and you're like, probably took them like 15 minutes to make that. Well, guess what? There's a lot more work that goes into it than that. It's actually something that takes like anywhere from, on a good day, like 2 hours minimum. Sometimes some videos have taken me like 8 hours plus to make. You know, the more editing, the more stuff like that. Because like creating a video isn't just saying stuff in front of the video. You have to figure out what you're going to do. You're going to have to figure out the title, the thumbnail, how to write all that stuff. Also, you have to make the video, edit the video, post the video. So there's a lot that goes into it. So generally, on average, I would say about 4 hours a day I spend working on my videos. All right, and now granted, for a while I wasn't doing that every day, but the first year I did it every single day. I did over 400 videos in a year. And then I'm doing it every day again now. So, because it's fun, it gives me something to do. I like it. So that's what I do for the second part of my day. The third part of my day is where I like to learn. Now, right now, I am doing a lot to learn about programming, specifically Python. Now, when I graduated undergrad, I was technically a computer programmer, and technically I worked for NASA as a computer programmer for a little while, but it wasn't a long time, and I hated it back then. Now I like it a lot more because I'm not forced to do it. I'm doing it for fun. I'm learning a lot. I'm having a great time doing it. And I also think this is one of the great ways to continue to be a digital nomad, because who knows what's going to happen with YouTube. I mean, like right now, my my living somewhat depends on YouTube. If YouTube kicks me off of there, then I'm done. So I want to have some backup plans that in case that does happen or in case something else happens, I'll still be able to live remotely. I'll still be able to work remotely and still have a job where I can contribute to the world and actually have a lot of fun doing it. So that's why I'm doing this. That's generally, I do at least 1 hour per day of programming, sometimes 2, 3, 4 hours per day. And then the last part of the day comes to leisure. Now that's doing whatever I want to do, whether it's hanging out with friends, whether it's reading a book, whether it's going for walk. I mean, I love walking around town. So like all these different things I do, leisure, up to me, independent of what I want to do. So that's basically my day, you know, morning routine, work, learn, and leisure. But it's pretty good. I mean, I'm not stuck working for someone else for 8 hours a day, and I get to be creative. I get to enjoy what I do. And plus, you know, I get to travel and to see all these different places and all these different things. Well, guess what? I don't really like doing that stuff. Truth be told, everybody, when they hear what I do, they're like, oh my gosh, you're in all these places. You must travel. You must see all these things. And no, for me, traveling is stressful. Like, I don't actually like it. I like to go to a place that I love and stay there and enjoy it. And then when I don't love it anymore, go somewhere else. But like the whole idea of like going to visit this thing and see that thing and see, for me, when I see something in a picture and then I go see it in real life, generally, it's pretty much the same. And most of the pictures nowadays are so like photoshopped and everything, it ends up looking better in the picture than in real life. So I'm not big for that whole travel thing, but a lot of people talk about that. That's what they want to do, and that's what they can do, just not for me. I like to just stay in one place. So we've talked about the lifestyle. Now let's get on to how to become a digital nomad, the ultimate guide, because that's what you all want to do. And this is something that's totally possible for all of you. Like, listen, I'm not someone special, okay? I'm just a guy who decided to make YouTube videos. I really wanted to go live somewhere outside of the United States, somewhere where it was inexpensive, and a whole bunch of other stuff. I'll share with you my requirements for a place to live coming up shortly. And, you know, it was something that I worked towards. It took me probably about 8 years to make it work. Now, I think some of you are much smarter than me, can make it happen a lot faster, but for me, it took 8 years because I had some stuff I had to overcome before I could actually go ahead and do this. So let's take a look at how to become a digital nomad. You know, for me, this journey started back around 2010. That's when I read The 4-Hour Workweek by Tim Ferriss. If you haven't read it, great book. Talks about, you know, escaping the 9 to 5, living anywhere and joining the new rich. Whoa, what a dream. Wow, everybody wants that stuff. But for me, it kind of opened my eyes because until then, I'd kind of been working where I had to like show up at a location. You know, you punch the clock. You're in there at 9, you're out at 5, or whatever it is. Some of my jobs, I was in there at like 7, and I was out at 7. So it was like 12-hour shifts. But that stuff sucks. It does, because it doesn't have anything to do with your productivity at all. You're just a warm body to fill a hole, you know? So that book is what started it for me. And from that, I started just realizing I had to create a whole bunch of different stuff in order to get going. So I just became very, very creative, very industrious, trying to figure out what worked. Now, some things that I did in order to try and figure this out. I tried to create like a digital product for bicycle mechanics because I used to be a bicycle mechanic. I created an ebook and course for veterinarians that I sold because I was a veterinarian and, you know, I knew I could sell it to them. I did investment real estate. I started an SEO company, YouTube channel. And basically any type of opportunity I could do where I didn't have to invest a lot of money, but I could use my time and build it up was something that I just started doing. So I just started creating and figured if I throw enough stuff against the wall, eventually something will stick. And at this point, YouTube has somewhat stuck for a while, okay? But that's not it. You see, there's this quote here from Ben Franklin. This is one of my favorite quotes. Be industrious and frugal and you will be rich, okay? So you have kind of control of two things. You have control of your inputs and your outputs, okay? So your inputs is the money coming in, your outputs is the money outgoing. Now, most people, especially in the US, their outputs are even bigger than their inputs. So they have their $5,000 a month or whatever they're getting from their paycheck, but they're spending $6,000 a month because they have to have the flashiest car, the best house. They have to go to the biggest parties and the baddest and all the new clothes and watches and all this stuff. So I try and do it backwards. Like I've always imagined, I want to be super rich, but I want to be so rich and nobody knows about it at all. Like, I want to be one of those rich people that nobody has any idea, because I don't go flashing it around. I want to be someone who basically looks like I do now, but be able to do whatever I want to do in the world. So my thing is, I'm still very industrious, still creating a lot as much as I can, but frugal, not spending a lot of money. So in that whole not spending a lot of money vein, I've been living for the past 7 months in Thailand and in Bulgaria. Now, these are both beautiful places. They're actually my 2 favorite places in the world, and I love them because they fit my requirements for what a place needs to have. They need to have only 4 things, okay? They need to have beautiful women, warm weather, fast internet, and they have to be cheap. And both of them do all of that, and I love it. And I absolutely, I enjoy every moment of living here. But, I've also, while I've been out of the States for the past 7 months, I've also been to a whole bunch of other countries. I've traveled to China and Singapore and Vietnam and Georgia and Denmark. So it's not like I've only been to a few places. But like I said, I prefer to find a place I like Thailand and Bulgaria, and just stay there and actually focus on doing my work, enjoying my life, because traveling for me is tiresome. It's annoying. Now, there's another reason that I like Thailand and Bulgaria, okay? And I'll actually come back to this quote in a second, because I want to show you. Like I said, part of being rich is being frugal. So, just to give you an idea, in the United States, average salary is $56,000. That equates to about $5,000 a month. Well, in Thailand, average salary is $800 a month. In Bulgaria, average salary 600 euros per month, okay? So, you can imagine, these are like a whole order of magnitude smaller than what people make in the US. You can imagine how much less expensive it is to live out here. I mean, in Thailand, you can have a meal for $1. For the first, both in Thailand and Bulgaria, I found places where I've stayed. Now, these are hostels, so this isn't for everybody, but I've found places where I've stayed where I can stay there. It includes breakfast and dinner for $7 a day. I literally calculated in my head that for like $2,300 a year, I could live there and not spend a penny more. Okay, so these are things that are possible. But there's another reason that I like Thailand and Bulgaria. There's this quote here from Mark Manson's latest book, Everything is Fucked. And he says, basically, we're the safest and most prosperous humans in the history of the world, yet we're feeling more hopeless than ever before. The better things get, the more we seem to despair. It's the paradox of progress, and perhaps it can be summed up in one startling fact. The wealthier and safer the place you live, the more likely you are to commit suicide. It's fucking crazy. When I read that, I was just like, holy shit, that makes so much sense. Because when I live in the United States, it's depressing as fuck, okay? But I live here, and I'm the happiest I could be ever. Now, that could be me. Maybe I'm weird in that way. But it was just like, I just felt like living in the U.S., it was just this constant bombardment. You're not good enough. You're not good enough. You're not good enough. Buy this, buy this, buy this. Whereas here, it's just like, live life. I mean, people don't have money, but they're happy. So who the hell cares? Now, we talked about where I live. So let's talk about how you can actually become a digital nomad. Because really, it's simple. It's pretty simple. But, we like to get in our own way. We like to make problems. So I've made this simple for you. 4 steps. So you can have your 40 ounces to freedom. 1, define your dream. 2, eliminate the unnecessary. 3, create remote income. And 4, go nomadic. So the first thing, define your dream. And for me, this comes down to journaling. This is something that I do every day. And every once in a while, especially when I get like really stuck or really frustrated, or just like, I also do this at the beginning of every year, it's just like, I write down what will be my ideal life. And here's the question that I would answer. I say, what would I do if I had unlimited wealth? Okay, if like money was something that I didn't even have to consider, never had to make money again, and it just keeps coming in again and again and again and again. Anything I want to buy, I can have. Anything I want to do, I can do. Well, what the heck would I do on my day to day? Like, what would my days look like? And that question helps me really figure out what I want to do with my life. Because everybody wants to be rich. Well, guess what? Once you get rich, then what? Jim Carrey, he has a quote that says, I wish everybody could get rich and famous and have everything they ever dreamed of, so they'll know that's not the answer. Because once you get a whole bunch of money, then you're like, okay, great, I've got a lot of money. That solved my money problems. But now I still have every other problem. Now I'm afraid I'm going to lose my money. Now I'm afraid I'm going to get hit by a car. Now I'm afraid I'm going to get sick. Now I'm afraid somebody's going to hold my family ransom. Like stuff like that. The problems never end. So it's just, money just solves your money problems. It basically just allows you to get to your problems in a limousine instead of like a Honda Accord, okay? So for me, defining my dream, figuring out exactly what I want my life to look like before I actually get there was very helpful. And here's the biggest step. Make sure you write this down, because they've done studies that people who actually write down their dreams are like 75% more likely to actually accomplish those dreams than people who haven't. So make sure you write them down, because I've done this all the time. I've been journaling for years and years and years. I don't even know when I started, but I have a whole batch of journals from where I've been doing it. And I look back on old ones about things that I wanted to accomplish. And guess what? I've done it all. So like, it's one of those things where you write it down and you put it out into the ether, and then eventually it comes to you. So that's the first thing. Define your dream. The question, what would you do if you had immeasurable wealth? If you could do anything, what would your day-to-day look like? Because that's the goal you want to do. I mean, who wouldn't want to do what they want to do? I mean, for me, sometimes that's just like lining up a whole bunch of girls and going to town on them. That's been my dream at times. But other times, I mean, after a while, that gets kind of old. That gets tiring. So right now, for the most part, I'm living my dream. There's still more that I can do. I still want to contribute more to other people's lives, but taking the time to figure out what that dream is for you, so then you can go for it and have it. So that's part one. Now the second part is eliminate the unnecessary. Now this is like the biggest fad right now. Ooh, minimalism. Ooh, be a minimalist. Get rid of everything. Well, it is a fad, but for good reason, okay? So with me, everything that I own, I've been living out of a nomadic backpack. It's like a carry-on size backpack. I've been living out of that for 7 months. I've never been at a loss for something. Everything that I have is in there. Everything that I need is in there. So this whole idea that we have to have all this other stuff, and that, you know, where's my mail going to go to, and what's going to happen with this, and what if somebody needs to contact me, and what about, but I can't sell that sofa, and these things, they're memories, they're keepsakes, and whatever else. Just getting rid of that stuff. There's a whole bunch of books on how to get rid of stuff. So first thing for me actually was in eliminating the unnecessary, was actually eliminating the unnecessary wastes of my time, like Facebook. This was something that I started back about, I think 2010, 2011. I noticed I was on Facebook a lot. So I just made it where there was Facebook Friday. I would only go on Facebooks on Friday, and that was it. And then eventually, I just didn't go on Facebook that much at all, and I just stopped going on. And now it's an awesome habit because I barely ever use social media. Aside from YouTube, I really don't use social media. So it's great because I don't waste all my time doing that. And actually right now I'm on a Netflix fast, because it's like another one of these time wasters where people just say, oh, I'll just watch a half an hour show, and then before you know it, 6 hours is gone. So I'm actually on a Netflix fast where I haven't been watching Netflix either, because that gives me a whole bunch more time to actually pursue the things that I want to do with my life. So first, getting rid of all the time wasters and realizing where you're wasting your time, especially if you have a 9-to-5 job and you have a wife and kids, because you barely have any time to yourself. Well, if all the time you have to yourself to actually develop and grow your business, you're spending watching Netflix or Pornhub or whatever you're doing. If all your time is spent doing that, then you're never going to have the time you need in order to grow, in order to become a digital nomad. Whereas if you can eliminate that stuff, get rid of that stuff, then that frees up a whole bunch more space. Same with all the material possessions that we have. Okay, all the material stuff we have around the house, that just keeps us locked in there. Like, we don't own our possessions own us. So all these people who are stuck where they are is because they've bought all these things and they have these houses and these cars and blah, 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 blah. And it's hard to move with all that stuff. If you just have a little backpack, pretty easy to move. You can go wherever you want. So that is the second one, okay? That is eliminating the unnecessary. Now, on to the third. Create remote income. This is important because if you want to be a nomad, if you want to live wherever, you need to be able to make money wherever. Now, most people, like I said, are stuck with a job, 9-to-5 job. They have to be somewhere. They have to fill a spot. I mean, it doesn't matter. The work that they do doesn't really matter. They just have to be there, okay? They could finish their work in 2 hours. They still have to be there for 8 hours. It sucks. I was there for a long time. I'm happy I'm out of there, and I don't ever want to go back there. But it's tough to get out of there. Now, some people will say, well, just quit your job and you'll have to figure out how to land on your feet. I definitely do not recommend doing that. I do not recommend it. What I would say is take your spare time from the last step and start building up alternative sources of income. So you still have your main income, okay? So for instance, when I was working as a veterinarian and I was working 60 plus hours a week as an emergency veterinarian, guess what? All of my spare time, I was building an SEO company. I was doing real estate wholesaling. So I had these alternate sources of income in addition. It was also when I started doing YouTube when I was working as a veterinarian. So all of those things I was doing in addition to my regular job. And because of that, it enabled me to escape the 9 to 5. You see, there's this awesome quote from Nassim Taleb that says, the 3 most harmful addictions are heroin, carbohydrates, and a monthly salary. The monthly salary keeps people stuck because they don't realize how to get out of that, how to create, how to build it, how to move beyond that. But once you get out of that, you never want to go back. So just to give you some ideas as to what to do, you can just search on Google, remote jobs, okay? There's millions of them. To give you some ideas, it's on a developer, online marketing, designer, writer, editor, customer support, teacher, accountant, data entry, virtual assistant, social media manager. All this stuff you can do wherever you want. You can even go on a lot of the biggest job search things and you could search for jobs that have remote in the title, okay? Now, if you're looking for something else, you can just be a freelancer. Go to Fiverr or Upwork or something like that and start making money doing things that you can do on the side that you don't need to be any specific place to do it. Furthermore, I would highly recommend listening to this podcast, the Joe Rogan Experience with Naval Ravikant, because Naval talks about how we're turning to a time when people need to be creative, when people are going to be working for other people less, where we need to be creative, and really, he recommends very highly becoming a developer, computer programmer, because guys, it makes so much sense. Even though computers have been around for 40 plus years, it's really the infancy of computers. I mean, who knows how long time could go on for? Maybe a few thousand years? Well, wouldn't you have wanted to get into computers in the very, very beginning of it? Because then you could really create something. So it is an amazing opportunity. And it's something where if you're a programmer, you can work wherever you want. I mean, when I'm in Thailand, I work at a co-working space with a bunch of guys who are programmers. And they work for companies all over the world. And many of them work for multiple different companies. And that's awesome because then you can make even more money. It's really good stuff. So that's one of the reasons why I'm learning programming right now, relearning programming. So then that's the third thing, create remote income, because that's very important. You take your time, you create remote income, and then when your remote income replaces your regular 9 to 5 income, then you can do step 4, which is go nomadic. Now for doing this, I would highly recommend watching this Will Smith video, What Skydiving Taught Me About Fear, because that's very much what it's like to go nomadic. A lot of people get to the position where they can go nomadic and then they don't because something holds them back. They have their house, they have their mortgage, they have all these excuses. And for me, it was no different. You know, I actually waited a year longer than I needed to become a digital nomad, to go nomadic, okay? And it was like a torturous year. I really didn't like it. I was living down in Miami and I absolutely hated it, but I was stuck there. I was living with my brother, my friends were down there, all these reasons why I couldn't do it. And then eventually I was just like, enough's enough. I bought a ticket. And once you buy a ticket, you pretty much have to go. So I bought a ticket, had to get everything, all my ducks in a row. Finally made it to Thailand. Literally the instant I landed in Thailand, I was like, oh my God, why did I wait so long to do this? It was like, I was home, okay? But funny story is like a couple weeks later, I had this terrible nightmare that I totally wasn't prepared for Thailand, but I was fine there. Okay, so anyways, once you have the remote income, once you have the ability to, sometimes just doing it can be a hard step. It can be scary. You don't know what you're going to do. But guess what? It's not different than anything else. I mean, if you can live anywhere else in the world, if you can live in the US or wherever you live, you can live anywhere else, no problem. It takes a little while to get used to, but once you're used to it, life can be a lot better. So that brings me to the end of things here. Basically, you know, that's my guide on the digital nomad lifestyle and also how to become a digital nomad. It's for me, it was a journey. Like I said, I started about 2010. It's 2019 right now. So it took me a while. I've been doing it for almost a year. And but it's something that I want to do the rest of my life. I think it's definitely worthwhile. And I think it beats the pants off of having a regular 9-to-5 job. So not my normal type of video, not the normal cryptocurrency video you're used to, but I hope you enjoyed it. If you want more like this, definitely let me know down the bottom, and I can maybe, I don't know, film like what I do on a daily basis, but it's not really that interesting. Anyways, thanks for watching, guys, and also make sure you check out Monarch, the Monarch Wallet, and Monarch Pay, the world's first decentralized recurring crypto payments, and I'll catch you guys later. All right, peace.